The sky above New York City turned dark at noon. Not from clouds, not from an eclipse. The darkness came from ships, thousands of them. They blocked out the sun like a metal blanket spreading across the heavens. Sarah Chen stood on the streets of Manhattan with millions of others. They all looked up. No one spoke. No one moved. The coffee in her hand went cold as she stared at shapes that should not exist. Massive vessels of black and silver hung in the air without sound. Each one was larger than any building she had ever seen. This was not a movie. This was not a dream. This was the day everything changed. The ships had appeared everywhere at once. Over every major city on Earth. Over Tokyo and London. Over Mumbai and Cairo. Over Sao Paulo and Sydney. 10,000 warships. The news said. 10,000 vessels from somewhere beyond the stars. For 3 days, the ships did nothing. They just waited. Humanity waited too. Governments held emergency meetings. Scientists tried to understand the technology. Religious leaders spoke of end times. Regular people held their families close and prayed. On the 4th day, the aliens spoke. Every screen on Earth flickered. Every phone, every television, every computer displayed the same image. A face appeared. It was not human. The creature had gray-green scales like a reptile. Its eyes were yellow with black slits in the center. Sharp teeth filled a mouth that seemed to smile with cruel pleasure. "Creatures of Earth," the alien said. Its voice was deep and cold. "I am High Dominar Kethros Van of the Valthrix hegemony. Your world now falls under our attention. You will listen. You will obey. You will submit." The message played in every language. Somehow, the aliens knew them all. High Dominar Kethros continued speaking. He explained that the Valthrix hegemony ruled over 400 star systems. They had conquered 60 different species over 12,000 years. Every civilization that met them had 2 choices. They could bow and serve, or they could die and be forgotten. "Earth has 1 week, Kethros announced. "In 7 days, your leaders will kneel before me. They will declare humanity a tributary species of the hegemony. You will provide workers for our factories, soldiers for our armies, resources for our empire. Your culture will be recorded and then simplified for efficiency. Your governments will answer to our governors." The aliens' yellow eyes seemed to look at every human at once. "If you refuse, we will burn your world to ash. We will boil your oceans. We will crack your continents. The name human will become a warning to other species, a story of what happens to those who defy us." The transmission ended. The screens went dark. Panic spread across the planet. Some people ran to churches. Some ran to stores to buy food and supplies. Some simply sat down and cried. The world had just learned it was not alone in the universe. And the universe was not friendly. President Amara Okonkwo of United Earth watched the message from her office in Geneva. She was a tall woman with dark skin and gray hair. She had led humanity through 3 major crises in her 8 years as president: climate disasters, economic collapse, the water wars. She had seen bad days before, but nothing like this. Her advisors crowded the room. Generals and scientists and diplomats all talked at once. Everyone had opinions, everyone had fears. Some wanted to fight, some wanted to surrender, some simply stood in shock, unable to process what was happening. "Quiet," President Okonkwo said. Her voice was soft, but everyone stopped talking. "We need information. We cannot make decisions based on fear and guesses." She turned to Admiral Chen Wei-lin, commander of Earth's space forces. He was a thin man in his 60s with a calm face that never showed emotion. He had spent his career preparing for threats from space. Most people thought he was paranoid. Today, no one was laughing at him. "Admiral, what do we know about their military strength?" the president asked. Admiral Chen activated a holographic display. Images of the alien ships appeared. "Their smallest vessels are larger than our biggest," he said. "Initial scans show energy weapons we cannot match. Shield technology we do not understand. Their fleet could destroy every military asset we have in approximately 4 hours." The room fell silent. "So we cannot fight," someone said. "We have to surrender." Admiral Chen's expression did not change. "I did not say we cannot fight. I said we cannot win a direct battle. Those are different things." President Okonkwo studied the old admiral. She had known him for 20 years. She saw something in his eyes, a small spark, a plan. "Admiral, is there something you want to tell us?" Chen Wei-lin paused. Then he spoke carefully. 30 years ago, when I was a young officer, I proposed a project called Prometheus, a secret program to prepare Earth for exactly this situation, an alien invasion by a superior force. Most people thought I was crazy, but some believed me. We received funding, secretly. We built things, weapons, ships, strategies, all hidden, all waiting. A general leaned forward. "You're telling us you have secret weapons? Why didn't anyone know about this?" "Because the point of a secret weapon is that it stays secret," Admiral Chen replied. "Until it is needed." Hope flickered in the room like a small candle in darkness. The president nodded slowly. "Very well, Admiral. Tell us about Prometheus." "For the next 3 hours," Admiral Chen explained, "hidden missile silos on every continent, ships built in underground factories, weapons designed based on theoretical physics, defense platforms hidden in orbit, appearing to be space junk. All of it secret. All of it ready. It will not be enough to win," the Admiral admitted, "but it will be enough to fight, to hurt them, to make them pay for every inch of our world." President Okonkwo looked around the room. She saw fear on every face, but she also saw something else growing: anger, pride, the oldest human instincts, the refusal to die quietly. "We cannot surrender," she said. "I know this sounds like madness. I know we might all die. But look at what they're offering. Slavery, the death of everything. They want to take our children and turn them into soldiers for alien wars. They want to erase our music, our art, our stories. They want to make us nothing." She stood up straighter. "I would rather humanity die free than live as slaves. If we fight and lose, at least we chose our end. At least we stayed human until the last moment." Silence filled the room. Then, one by one, the leaders of Earth nodded. They would fight. The next day, an alien shuttle descended from the flagship. It landed in New York City, in Central Park, watched by millions of cameras and billions of eyes. A ramp extended. Creatures walked down. They were tall and thin, covered in the same gray-green scales as High Dominarch Kethros. They wore flowing robes of black and gold. They moved with the confidence of beings who had never known defeat. The lead alien was female, as far as anyone could tell. Her name was Salith. She was an ambassador, sent to prepare Earth for surrender. President Okonkwo met her personally. They stood in a room that had hosted kings and presidents and prime ministers for 2 centuries. Now it hosted an alien who viewed humanity as insects. "You are the leader of this world?" Salith asked. Her voice was like dry leaves scraping together. "I am President of United Earth," Okonkwo replied. "I speak for humanity." Salith made a sound that might have been laughter. "How amusing. You speak for your species as if that means something. I have watched 60 species speak for themselves before they knelt. The Kethvari spoke for themselves before they became our laborers. The Silathi spoke for themselves before they became our servants. Speech changes nothing." The alien walked around the room, examining human artifacts. A painting by Picasso, a sculpture from ancient Greece, a flag from the first moon landing. "Your species has achieved some small things," Salith admitted. "You reached your moon. You built thinking machines. You even created art, in your primitive way. The hegemony will preserve some of this. Samples, records. Future generations might study human culture the way you might study insects." President Okonkwo kept her face calm. Inside, she burned with fury. "We need 1 week," she said, "to prepare our people for the transition, to explain to them what is happening. You must understand. We only recently learned other life exists in the universe. This is a shock to our population." Salith waved a clawed hand dismissively. "You have your week. Use it as you wish. It changes nothing. In 7 days, you will kneel before High Dominarch Kethros. You will speak the words of submission. Your world will become property of the hegemony. This is not a negotiation. This is simply what will happen." The alien moved toward the door. Then she stopped and turned back. "I have studied your species," she said. "Your history, your wars, your struggles. You fight among yourselves constantly. You kill each other over invisible lines on maps, over ideas about gods, over resources you could share. You are a violent, chaotic species." Her yellow eyes narrowed. "Some might think this makes you dangerous, but I have seen 60 species try to resist. Some were more violent than you. Some were smarter. Some had better weapons. They all knelt in the end. You are not special. You are not chosen. You are simply the 61st species to learn that the universe is cruel, and the hegemony is its master. Salif left. Her shuttle rose into the sky and disappeared among the waiting warships. President Okonkwo watched it go. Then she turned to Admiral Chen, who had been standing in the shadows throughout the meeting. "Begin," she said simply. The Admiral nodded and spoke into his communicator. "All stations, all commanders, all units. This is Admiral Chen Weilin. Authorization code, Prometheus Rising. I say again, Prometheus Rising. We are go for full activation." Across the world, things began to happen. In Montana, a farmer named Jack Williams received a message on an old radio in his barn. He read the coded words, then walked to a section of his field that had never been plowed. He pressed a hidden switch, and the ground opened to reveal a missile silo. In Japan, Dr. Yuki Tanaka's phone buzzed. The young scientist left her university office and drove to a mountain base that officially did not exist. Inside, she joined 100 other scientists who had been preparing for this day their entire careers. In Brazil, Captain Marcus Cole gathered his special operations team. They were the best soldiers Earth had ever produced. Now they had the most important mission in human history. In secret facilities on every continent, hidden ships powered up. Weapons systems came online. Soldiers received orders. Engineers began final preparations. Humanity's secret army woke from its 30-year sleep. None of this showed on the surface. The world appeared to be in panic. News broadcasts showed crying crowds and empty churches. Leaders gave speeches about the difficulty of the situation. Everything looked exactly as the aliens expected. But beneath the chaos, beneath the fear, something else was growing. A plan, a hope, a refusal to die quietly. Captain Marcus Cole's mission was the most dangerous. He and his team of 12 soldiers would board the alien flagship. They would pretend to be cultural ambassadors, bringing samples of human art and music to the hegemony. In reality, they would plant a virus in the alien computer systems. They would also map the ship's layout and find its weaknesses. It was a suicide mission. Everyone knew it. But 12 people had volunteered anyway. "Why are you doing this?" a journalist asked Cole in a secret interview that would air after the war began. "You know you probably won't survive." Cole smiled. He was a large man with kind eyes and a gentle voice. He did not look like a killer, but he was the most decorated soldier on Earth. "I have 2 daughters," he said. "They're 7 and 9. When they grow up, they'll ask what Daddy did during the invasion. I want the answer to be something they can be proud of. I want them to know that their father did not bow, that he fought, that he made the bastards bleed before they got him." He paused. "And who knows? Maybe we'll win. Stranger things have happened." The journalist asked what strange things he meant. "All of human history," Cole replied. "We should have died 100 times. Ice ages, plagues, world wars, nuclear weapons. Every time, someone said we were finished. Every time, we found a way. That's what humans do. We survive, we adapt, we fight." His smile faded into something harder. "Those aliens think they know us because they read our history. But they read it wrong. They saw our violence and our chaos. They didn't see what it means. It means we never give up. It means we always have one more trick. It means that even when we're beaten, we get back up." He stood and prepared to leave for his mission. "They want us to bow, but they've never met anything like us. And I think, before this is over, they're going to wish they never had." The final day of the week arrived. High Dominar Kethros descended from his flagship in a golden shuttle. He landed in Geneva, where the leaders of Earth had gathered in the old United Nations building. The alien walked among humans for the first time. He was taller than any human, nearly 8 feet. His scales gleamed in the sunlight. His yellow eyes looked at everything with contempt. Cameras broadcast the moment to every screen on Earth. Billions watched their fate unfold. Kethros entered the assembly hall. Every seat was filled with human leaders, presidents and prime ministers, kings and generals, scientists and religious figures, all of humanity's power in one room. The High Dominarch walked to the central platform. He stood there, looking down at the gathered humans like a farmer looking at livestock. "Today is the day of your submission," he announced. "Your leader will approach. She will kneel before me. She will speak the words. Humanity accepts its place in the hegemony. We surrender all sovereignty. We bow before our masters. Then it will be done. Humanity will join the Empire. He looked directly at President Okonkwo. Come, kneel. End this. The president stood. She walked toward the alien. Her steps were steady. Her face was calm. The entire world held its breath. She stopped 3 feet from Kethros. She looked up at the towering alien. You have demanded that Earth bow, she said. Her voice was quiet but clear. Every microphone in the room caught her words. You have threatened us with death, with extinction. You have called us primitive, violent, chaotic, insects to be crushed or collected. She paused. You are right about one thing. We are violent. We are chaotic. We have spent our entire history fighting the cold, fighting disease, fighting each other. We are very, very good at fighting. Her voice grew stronger. You made a mistake coming here, Dominarch. You looked at our divisions and saw weakness. You should have seen practice. You looked at our wars and saw chaos. You should have seen training. For 10,000 years, we have been preparing to fight something. We just didn't know what. She smiled. Now we do. Kethros's yellow eyes narrowed. Something flickered in them. It might have been confusion, or the very first seed of doubt. You cannot fight us, he said. You will die. Maybe. Okonkwo agreed. Probably. But not today. And not without taking as many of you with us as we can. She raised her hand. In it was a small device. A simple button. You asked us to bow. Here is our answer. She pressed the button. Across Earth, hidden silos opened their doors. Defense platforms in orbit dropped their camouflage. Ships rose from underground bunkers on every continent. Weapons that the aliens did not know existed powered up and locked onto their targets. In the assembly hall, lights went dark. Screens lit up showing the alien fleet. Red targeting indicators appeared on every ship. Admiral Chen's voice came through the speakers. To all Valthrix forces, you are surrounded by planetary defense systems. Your fleet is targeted by weapons you do not understand. You have one chance to withdraw from Earth space. If you do not, we will destroy you. High Dominar Kethros stared at the displays in disbelief. This was not possible. Humanity was primitive. Humanity was weak. Humanity should be cowering and begging for mercy. This is a bluff, he growled. You cannot hurt us. Admiral Chen's voice came again, calm and cold. Demonstrate. A single beam of light shot up from somewhere in Europe. It struck a Valthrix warship in orbit. The ship's shields flickered, then failed. The vessel exploded in a ball of fire visible from Earth's surface. Silence filled the assembly hall. President Okonkwo looked at the shocked alien. That was one weapon, she said. We have thousands. Your ships have shields. Our weapons can break them. You thought you knew us, Dominarch. You thought you understood humans. You were wrong. She stepped closer to the towering alien, showing no fear. Now get off our planet, and tell your empire what you found here. Tell them that Earth does not bow. Tell them that humans do not kneel. And tell them that if they ever come back, they had better bring more ships. Kethros' face twisted with rage. For a moment, it seemed he might attack her with his bare claws. Then he turned and stormed out of the building. His shuttle rose into the sky and returned to the flagship. President Okonkwo watched him go. Her heart was pounding. Her hands were shaking. But her voice was steady when she spoke. They will attack now, she said to Admiral Chen through her earpiece. They will try to destroy us. I know, the Admiral replied. But at least we die fighting. At least we die human. At least we die human, she agreed. In orbit, the Valthrix fleet began to move. 10,000 warships prepared for battle. On Earth, 4 billion humans looked up at the sky. They knew what was coming. They knew the odds. Many would die in the next hours, perhaps all of them. But for the first time in a week, they were not afraid. They were angry. They were ready. They were human. And humans do not bow. High Dominarch Kethros Van stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Conquest, and watched Earth through the viewing screens. The blue and green planet turned slowly below him. Such a small world, such insignificant creatures, and they had dared to defy him. Status report, he demanded. His second in command, Fleet Commander Doroth, stepped forward. Like all Valthrix, he was tall and covered in gray-green scales. His yellow eyes showed concern. High Dominarch, our scans show unknown weapon systems across the planet. The weapon that destroyed the crushing tide operated on frequencies we have not seen before. It bypassed our shields entirely. Kethros turned slowly. Bypassed? Yes, High Dominarch. Our shields were at full power. The weapon simply ignored them. This was impossible. Valthric's shield technology was perfect. It had protected them for 12,000 years. No species had ever broken through. The shields were the foundation of their military power. One ship, Kethros said. They destroyed one ship. A trick, a surprise, nothing more. They cannot possibly have enough weapons to threaten this fleet. With respect, High Dominarch, we cannot be certain. These humans hid these weapons completely. Our scans detected nothing until they revealed themselves. We do not know what else they may have hidden. Kethros grabbed Dorith by the throat and lifted him off the ground. The fleet commander choked and struggled. You question my judgment? You suggest we retreat from insects? No, High Dominarch, Dorith gasped. I simply advise caution. Kethros threw him to the floor. There will be no caution. There will be no retreat. These creatures have embarrassed me. They have defied the hegemony. They will burn for it. Every city, every village, every man, woman, and child. We will turn their world to ash and broadcast the images across the empire. Let all species see what happens to those who do not bow. He turned to the weapons officer. Begin the bombardment. Target their largest cities. Kill millions. Let them watch their civilization die. Then they will beg for the mercy they rejected. The weapons officer hesitated. High Dominarch, the humans have their own weapons pointed at us. If we attack, they are insects. Kethros roared. Their weapons are toys. Their defiance is theater. Fire. The order was given. Across the Valthric's fleet, 10,000 ships opened fire. Beams of energy rained down on Earth like burning rain. But Earth fired back. Admiral Chen Wei-Lin stood in the command center buried deep beneath the Swiss Alps. Screens covered every wall. Each one showed a different part of the battle. He watched calmly as alien weapons fell toward Earth's cities. Intercept systems active, he ordered. Defensive platforms, engage. Across the planet, hidden systems came to life. Satellites that looked like space junk revealed themselves as weapons platforms. Underground bunkers opened to release swarms of defensive missiles. Energy shields flickered to life over major cities. Most of the alien fire was blocked or deflected. Most, but not all. New York's shield held. London's shield held. But Tokyo's shield was overwhelmed. Mumbai's generators failed. Millions died in the first minute. Admiral Chen watched the death counts rise on his screens. His face showed nothing, but his hands gripped the console until his knuckles went white. Counterattack, he said quietly. All planetary weapons. Fire at will. Earth struck back. Dr. Yuki Tanaka had spent 15 years developing the weapons that now fired at the alien fleet. She was only 35 years old, but she was the greatest weapons scientist humanity had ever produced. When she was 20, she had discovered a flaw in theoretical physics that everyone else had missed. By 25, she had turned that flaw into a weapon. The Tanaka beam, as the military called it, did not destroy shields. It did not overpower them. It simply operated on frequencies that shields could not block. The Valthrics had based their entire military strategy on shields that nothing could penetrate. Dr. Tanaka had made those shields useless. Now her weapons fired from hidden platforms across Earth. Each beam found a target. Each target died. In the first hour of battle, Earth destroyed 647 Valthrix warships. The aliens had never experienced anything like it. For 12,000 years, they had conquered without challenge. Their technology was superior. Their numbers were overwhelming. Species simply surrendered or died quickly. Humans were different. High Dominarch Kethros watched his ships explode and could not understand what was happening. This was wrong. This was impossible. These primitive creatures should not be able to hurt him. How? He demanded. How? Fleet Commander Dorith pulled himself back to his feet. High Dominarch, their weapons bypass our shields completely. We have no defense. We must. An explosion rocked the flagship. Alarms screamed. The lights flickered. Direct hit on Deck 17, an officer reported. Hull breach. We are losing atmosphere. Kethros stared at the screen showing the damage. His own flagship. Damaged. By humans. Seal the breach, he ordered. And target whatever hit us. Destroy it. But more hits came. And more. The Eternal Conquest shuddered under the assault. It was the largest, most powerful ship in the Valthrix fleet, and it was being hurt by creatures that had barely reached their own moon. Then Captain Marcus Cole's team completed their mission. Cole and his 12 soldiers had boarded the flagship 3 days earlier, posing as cultural ambassadors. They had smiled and bowed and presented human artifacts to amused alien officers. They had been dismissed as harmless, entertaining, even. They were not harmless. For 3 days, they had mapped the ship. They had identified key systems. They had planted devices in critical locations, and they had uploaded a virus into the ship's computer network. The virus did not destroy. It did not shut down systems. It simply waited. And when Captain Cole pressed a button on a hidden device, it woke up. The Eternal Conquest went dark. Every light, every screen, every system. The massive flagship became a blind, helpless giant, floating in space. What happened? Kethro screamed in the darkness. What did you do to my ship? Emergency lights flickered on. Red, dim, terrifying. And then the humans attacked. Cole and his team had studied Valthrix physiology carefully. They knew where the aliens were weak. They knew how to kill them quickly. In the darkness and chaos, 12 humans moved through the flagship like ghosts. They killed the guards outside the engineering section. They killed the technicians inside. They destroyed equipment and set fires and disappeared before anyone could respond. By the time the lights came back on, the Eternal Conquest's main weapons were offline. Its shield generators were damaged. Its engine core was bleeding energy. Captain Cole recorded a message and broadcast it to the entire Valthrix fleet. This is Captain Marcus Cole of Earth. I am standing in the heart of your flagship. Your High Dominarch's own ship is crippled. Your shields are worthless. Your fleet is burning. He paused. When he spoke again, his voice was hard as iron. You came to enslave us. You came to destroy everything we are. You thought we would bow. You were wrong. We are humans. We do not surrender. We do not submit. We do not go quietly into the night. Behind him, the sounds of fighting echoed through the corridor. Alien soldiers were closing in. This message is for every species watching, every world the Valthrix have conquered, every people they have enslaved. Look at what we are doing. Look at what is possible. You do not have to bow. You can fight. You can resist. You can be free. The sound of energy weapons grew closer. My team and I will die here, Cole continued. We know that. We accept it. But our deaths will mean something. They will prove that the hegemony can bleed, that empires can fall, that one small species from one small world can shake the stars. He smiled into the camera. To my daughters, Daddy loves you. Be brave, be kind, and never, ever bow. The transmission ended. Captain Marcus Cole and his team died 7 minutes later. They killed 43 Valthrix soldiers before they fell. They died with weapons in their hands and defiance in their hearts. Their sacrifice would be remembered for 10,000 years. The battle above Earth raged for 6 hours. The Valthrix had numbers. They had experience. They had resources beyond anything Earth could match. But humans had surprise. They had innovation. And they had something the aliens had never encountered. A willingness to die rather than surrender. Admiral Chen directed the defense from his bunker. He watched ships fall and soldiers die. He made terrible decisions. He sacrificed thousands to save millions. He ordered attacks knowing that the attackers would not return. It was the worst day of his life. It was also the most important. Admiral, an officer reported, the alien flagship is withdrawing. It's moving to the rear of the fleet. Chen nodded slowly. Captain Cole's mission had succeeded beyond their hopes. The High Dominarch's own ship was damaged. The symbol of Valthrix power was retreating. Focus all fire on the ships between us and the flagship, Chen ordered. Clear a path. If we can destroy that ship, we can break their fleet. The order was given. Earth's weapons focused on the vessels protecting the Eternal Conquest. Ship after ship exploded. The path began to clear, but the Valthrix learned quickly. They were not stupid. Their commanders saw what the humans were doing and adjusted their formation. They shielded their flagship with their bodies. For every Valthrix ship destroyed, 2 more took its place. Earth was hurting them badly, but not badly enough. The aliens still had over 9,000 ships. Earth's weapons were running low on power. The defensive shields over cities were failing. Admiral Chen saw the numbers. He understood what they meant. Earth could not win this battle. Not today. Not like this. But they could survive it. All forces, he announced. Begin Operation Broken Shield. Repeat. Operation Broken Shield. Across the planet, hidden systems activated. Jammers that disrupted alien sensors. Decoys that created false targets. Smoke and mirrors on a planetary scale. The Valthrix suddenly found themselves shooting at ghosts. Their targeting systems went haywire. Their communications filled with static. They could not coordinate. They could not aim. They could only fire blindly and hope to hit something. In the confusion, Earth's remaining ships launched from hidden bases, not to fight, to escape. 37 vessels carrying humanity's best scientists, soldiers, and leaders rose from the planet and disappeared into the darkness of space. Admiral Chen watched them go. His wife was on one of those ships, his grandchildren, his hope for the future. Good luck, he whispered. Make it count. He turned back to the battle. He would not be leaving. Someone had to stay and fight. Someone had to keep the aliens busy while the others escaped. That someone was him. President Okonkwo was on one of the escaping ships. She had not wanted to leave. She had argued fiercely against it. But her advisors had convinced her that humanity needed its leaders to survive. The fight would continue. It would just continue somewhere else. From her ship, she watched Earth shrink in the viewing screen. Her home. Her world. Billions of people she had sworn to protect. We'll come back, she promised. We'll come back and we'll make them pay. The battle continued for 3 more days. The Valthrix eventually adapted to Earth's jamming systems. Their superior numbers began to tell. City after city fell. Defense after defense failed. But they never got a clean victory. Every inch of ground cost them blood. Every city they destroyed cost them ships. Humans fought with everything they had. Soldiers fought until they ran out of ammunition, then fought with knives, then fought with bare hands. The Valthrix had conquered 60 species. None of them had fought like this. Admiral Chen died on the 4th day. His bunker was finally located and destroyed by orbital bombardment. He was still giving orders when the ceiling collapsed. His last words were, "Tell them we held. Tell them Earth fought." High Dominar Kethros stood in the ruins of New York City and tried to feel triumphant. He had won. Earth had fallen. The human military was destroyed. The planet was his, but his victory tasted like ash. He had come with 10,000 ships. He had 3,000 left. 3,000. 7,000 destroyed by insects, by primitives, by creatures who had barely developed space travel. The hegemony had never lost so many ships in a single campaign, not in 12,000 years. The losses were catastrophic. It would take decades to rebuild, and the humans were not all dead. Ships had escaped. Dozens of them, maybe more. They had taken scientists and soldiers and leaders. They had taken weapons and plans and the knowledge of how to hurt the Valthrix. They would return. Kethros knew it. Humans never gave up. They never accepted defeat. They would come back, and they would bring their anger, and their innovation, and their terrible determination. High Dominarch. Fleet Commander Dorith approached carefully. The human command centers have been destroyed. Resistance has ceased. The planet is secure. Secure, Kethros repeated. The word felt hollow. We have not secured anything. We have stepped into a trap. We have made enemies who will hunt us across the stars. He looked at the ruins around him. Broken buildings, burning fires, bodies everywhere. Human and Valthrix alike. I want every surviving human found and executed, he ordered. I want their cities razed to the ground. I want nothing left but ashes and graves. Let this world be a monument to what happens to those who defy the hegemony. But even as he spoke, he felt uncertain. He had destroyed worlds before. He had killed millions. It had always felt like victory. This felt like the beginning of something terrible. Far from Earth, on a ship racing toward unknown space, President Okonkwo addressed the survivors. We have lost our home, she said. Her voice was heavy with grief. We have lost billions of our brothers and sisters. We have lost everything we built over 10,000 years of civilization. She paused. But we have not lost ourselves. We have not lost our courage or our will or our humanity. We still have our minds. We still have our determination. We still have each other." Her voice grew stronger. "The Valtryks think they have won. They think they have broken us. They are wrong. They have only awakened us. They have shown us what we can do when we fight together. They have proven that their shields can be broken. Their ships can be destroyed. Their soldiers can be killed." She looked at the survivors gathered around her. Scientists who had created miracles. Soldiers who had performed impossibilities. Leaders who had refused to surrender. "We will find new allies. There are other species out there, enslaved by the hegemony. We will find them. We will teach them what we learned. We will show them that resistance is possible." Her eyes burned with fierce determination. "And then we will come back. We will come back with fleets and armies and weapons beyond anything the hegemony has ever seen. We will free our world. We will free every world. And we will make the Valtryks pay for every human life they took." She raised her fist. "They wanted us to bow. We answered with fire. They think this is over. It is only beginning." Dr. Yuki Tanaka sat in her small cabin, working on equations. Already, her mind was racing with new ideas. Better weapons, stronger shields, ways to hurt the enemy even more. She had been born in Tokyo. Her parents had died in the first bombardment. She had watched her city burn from orbit. That memory would fuel her work for the rest of her life. "They underestimated us," she whispered to herself. "They thought we were primitive. They thought our technology was simple. They didn't understand." She smiled. It was not a nice smile. Human science is not about building the best tools. It's about finding weaknesses, finding flaws, finding ways to break things that should not be broken. The Valtryks have had 12,000 years of dominance, 12,000 years of no one challenging their technology. She turned back to her work. They are about to learn what human innovation can really do. The escape ships flew on through the darkness, 37 vessels carrying the last hope of humanity. They had no destination. They had no allies. They had nothing but determination and anger and the memory of their fallen world. Behind them, Earth burned under alien occupation. But the war was not over. It was only changing. The Valtryks had demanded that Earth bow. Earth had answered with blood and fire. The Empire had won the battle. They had not won the war. In the darkness of space, humanity licked its wounds and planned its revenge. They would return, and when they did, the Empire would burn. 6 months after the fall of Earth, the Valtryks Empire still had not achieved peace. Governor Velthos looked out over what had once been Paris. The city was mostly rubble now. The great tower that humans had loved so much was just twisted metal. The famous museums were ash. The streets where millions had walked were empty and silent, but not completely silent. That was the problem. Another convoy attacked last night, his aide reported. 30 soldiers killed, supplies destroyed. The attackers disappeared before reinforcements arrived. Velthos hissed in frustration. How? How do they keep doing this? We destroyed their military. We killed their leaders. We control every major city. The humans have gone underground, Governor. Literally. They have tunnels everywhere. Basements, sewers, old subway systems. They hide during the day and come out at night. They strike and vanish before we can respond. Then flood the tunnels. Collapse them. Kill everything underneath. We have tried, Governor. They move to new locations. They dig new tunnels. They are persistent. Persistent. That was one word for it. Velthos had been a military governor for 300 years. He had pacified 12 worlds. He knew how conquered species behaved. They surrendered. They accepted. They learned to serve. Humans did none of these things. In the first month of occupation, Velthos had executed 10,000 humans as a warning. The resistance attacks increased. He executed 100,000. The attacks increased more. He bombed entire districts. The survivors simply moved to new hiding places and kept fighting. Nothing he did made them stop. Nothing he did made them afraid. They were not like any species he had ever encountered. They just kept coming. In the ruins of what had been Chicago, a woman named Elena Rodriguez led a resistance cell of 47 fighters. Before the invasion, she had been a school teacher. She had taught children to read and write and think. Now she taught them to kill aliens. "Tonight we hit the supply depot on Michigan Avenue," she told her team. "Intelligence says they're storing weapons there. We take what we can carry. We destroy the rest." A young man raised his hand. He was barely 18. Before the invasion, He had worried about college applications and first dates. Now he worried about ammunition counts and escape routes. What about the guards? He asked. 12 Valthrix soldiers, 2 patrol robots. Standard formation. Elena spread a hand-drawn map on the table. We go in through the old subway tunnel. Plant charges here, here, and here. When they blow, the guards will investigate. That's when Team 2 hits the depot from the east. Team 3 covers the retreat. And if something goes wrong, Elena looked at him steadily, then we die. But we take as many of them with us as possible. And the next cell continues the fight. The young man nodded. He did not look afraid. 6 months ago, he had been afraid of speaking in class. Now he was ready to die fighting aliens. The invasion had changed everyone. That night, the attack went almost perfectly. The charges detonated. The guards responded as predicted. Team 2 reached the depot and began loading supplies onto hidden carts. Team 3 watched the perimeter. Then something unexpected happened. A Valthrix patrol appeared from the west. They had not been on the intelligence reports. They spotted Team 3 immediately. Elena heard the shooting start and made a decision in half a second. Team 2, grab what you have and go. Team 3, fall back to secondary position. I'll hold them. She stepped out of cover and opened fire on the patrol. Her weapon was crude, built from salvaged parts and human engineering. But Dr. Tanaka's research had been shared before the escape ships left. Even resistance fighters had weapons that could hurt the aliens. 2 Valthrix fell before they realized what was happening. The others dove for cover and returned fire. Energy beams scorched the rubble around Elena. She kept firing. She kept moving. She drew their attention away from her team. 1 minute, 2 minutes. An eternity of shooting and dodging and praying. Then she heard explosions from the depot. Team 2 had destroyed what they could not carry. The mission was complete. Elena smiled and fell back toward the subway entrance. She had done it. Her people would escape. The supplies would help the resistance. Today was a victory. A beam caught her in the leg. She went down hard. The Valthrix closed in. Their weapons pointed at her. She could see their yellow eyes gleaming in the darkness. Human, one of them said. You will tell us where the others are hiding. You will tell us everything. Elena laughed. Blood ran from her leg, but she laughed. I'll tell you one thing, she said. There are more of us. Thousands more. Millions more. You can kill me, but you can't kill all of us. You can't kill what we believe. She reached into her jacket. And I'll tell you something else. Humans never go alone. She pressed the detonator. The explosion killed Elena and 4 Valthrix soldiers. The resistance cell escaped through the tunnels. They mourned their leader, then chose a new one, then planned their next attack. The war continued. In space, far from Earth, the human escape fleet had found a place to hide. A dead system with no planets worth colonizing, no resources worth taking, no reason for the Valthrix to ever visit. President Okonkwo had established a base on a large asteroid. It was cold and cramped and miserable, but it was safe, and it was a place to rebuild. Report, she said to her council. General James Morrison, now commander of what remained of Earth's military, stepped forward. We have established contact with 14 resistance cells on Earth. They're fighting hard, causing significant damage to occupation forces, but they're taking heavy losses. Can we help them? Not directly. We don't have the ships or the firepower to challenge the Valthrix fleet. If we go back now, we die. And the resistance loses hope. Dr. Tanaka spoke next. I've been analyzing the data from the battle. The Valthrix shields have a recovery period after being disrupted. If we could hit them with multiple weapons at once, in a specific sequence, we could drop their shields for several seconds, long enough for conventional weapons to do serious damage. How many weapons would we need? 3. Hitting the same target within half a second. The timing has to be perfect. Can we do that? Not with our current technology. But give me 6 months, and I can build targeting systems accurate enough. President Okonkwo nodded. You have your 6 months. What else? Ambassador Chen Mei-ling, Admiral Chen's daughter, spoke up. I've been monitoring Valthrix communications. They're worried. The losses they took at Earth were catastrophic. Other species in the hegemony are asking questions. Some of the tribute worlds are showing signs of unrest. Unrest, small things, delayed shipments, minor sabotage, nothing organized. But the hegemony rules through fear. The Battle of Earth proved they can be hurt. That knowledge is spreading. The president leaned forward. Then we need to spread it faster. If other species start resisting, the Valthrix will have to split their forces. They can't fight everyone at once. How do we reach them? We don't even know where most tribute worlds are. We find out. We send scouts. We make contact. We do whatever it takes. She looked around the table at her exhausted, determined advisors. The Valthrix have ruled this part of the galaxy for 12,000 years. They've built an empire on slavery and fear. But empires fall. They all fall. And this one is going to fall because of us. 3 months later, a small human ship entered a star system called HFY. According to captured Valthrix records, this was the homeworld of a species called the HFY. They had been enslaved for 3,000 years. Commander Zara Oyeleran piloted the ship personally. She was a tall woman from Nigeria with quick hands and a quicker mind. Before the invasion, she had been a fighter pilot. Now she was a spy, a diplomat, and a revolutionary. Approaching the planet, her co-pilot reported, "I'm reading Valthrix patrol ships in orbit. Standard occupation formation. Take us in low. Use the moon's shadow. Let's see if we can reach the surface without being noticed." The ship slipped through Valthrix sensor coverage with skills born of desperation. Zara had flown missions like this a dozen times now. Each one could be her last. Each one was necessary. They landed in a forest far from any city. As the engines cooled, Zara activated a communication device. "This message is for any HFY who can hear it. I am Commander Zara Oyeleran of Earth. Humanity. We are the species that fought the Valthrix at our homeworld. We destroyed 7,000 of their ships before we fell. We are still fighting, and we want to help you do the same." She repeated the message in several formats and frequencies, then waited. For 2 days, nothing happened. Zara began to fear that the HFY were too broken, too afraid to respond. 3,000 years of slavery was a long time. Maybe hope had died completely. Then, on the third night, figures emerged from the forest. They were insectoid creatures, large, with 6 limbs and compound eyes that reflected the starlight. Their bodies were covered in hard shells of blue and green. They moved carefully, watching for traps. Zara stepped out of her ship, hands empty and raised. "I am Oyeleran," she said. "I come in peace. I come to help." The lead HFY clicked and buzzed. Zara's translation device struggled with the language. "You fight Valthrix?" the creature asked. "Yes, we fight. We have not stopped fighting. They say, all humans dead. They say, Earth burned. They say, resistance, pointless." Zara smiled. "They lied. Earth burned, yes. Many humans died. But we are not all dead. We escaped. We rebuilt. And now we're here, on your world, talking to you." The HFY were silent for a long moment. Then the leader made a sound that the translator could not interpret. "Come," the creature said. "Come with us. Many want to hear." Zara followed them into the forest. She walked for hours, through hidden paths and underground tunnels. Finally, they reached a vast cavern filled with thousands of HFY, all watching, all waiting. She stood before them and told her story. She told them about Earth, about humanity, about the battle that had cost 7,000 Valthrix ships, about the resistance that still fought in the ruins, about the escape fleet that still flew free. She told them that the hegemony could be hurt, that the masters could bleed, that slavery was not forever. When she finished, silence filled the cavern. Then, slowly, a sound began. A clicking, buzzing rhythm that spread from one HFY to another. It grew louder and louder until the entire cavern shook with it. The translator finally interpreted it. Hope. It was the sound of hope. Back on Earth, the occupation grew more brutal. High Dominarch Kethros had been recalled to the hegemony capital to explain his losses. A new commander, General Thesak, now controlled the planet. Thesak was different from Kethros. He was not arrogant. He did not underestimate humans. He had studied their history, their wars, their tactics. He knew exactly what he was dealing with. Humans are pack hunters, he told his officers. They work together. They sacrifice for each other. They fight hardest when protecting their families. So we will break their families. We will separate parents from children. We will scatter communities across the planet. Without their packs, they will weaken. He implemented his plan with cold efficiency. Human populations were moved. Families were torn apart. Children were taken to re-education camps. The resistance responded with fury. Attacks increased tenfold. Suicide bombers struck at military installations. Assassins targeted Velthric's officers. General Thesak smiled. Good, he said. Let them waste themselves in anger. Every fighter who dies attacking us is one less fighter for the long war. But he had miscalculated. The attacks were not random anger. They were calculated, precise. Every suicide bombing took out a critical target. Every assassination removed a key leader. The resistance was not losing control. It was adapting. In a hidden bunker beneath what had been Denver, a man named David Kim planned the next phase. He was a former software engineer. Now he was a spy master. Thesak thinks he's breaking us, he said to his lieutenants. He's wrong. He's teaching us. Every time he changes tactics, we learn. Every time he wins, we study how. Every time he makes a mistake, we exploit it. He pointed to a map covered in symbols. He's spreading our population out to break our communities. That's true. But he's also spreading his forces thin. He has to guard more territory with the same number of soldiers, and he's creating new resistance fighters. Every child he takes to a camp is a future rebel. Every family he tears apart is an enemy he's creating. He smiled grimly. The Velthrics don't understand humans. They think cruelty creates obedience. They've never met a species that responds to cruelty with revenge. 6 months after the occupation began, the Resistance launched its largest operation yet. They called it Operation Phoenix. Across the planet, on the same night, Resistance cells struck simultaneously. Supply depots exploded. Communication towers fell. 3 Velthrix generals were assassinated in their beds. The message was clear. Earth was not conquered. Earth would never be conquered. Humanity would fight until the last human died, and then their children would pick up the weapons and fight some more. General Thesak watched the reports come in and felt something he had not felt in centuries. Doubt. How many soldiers would it take to fully pacify this planet? He asked his aide. The aide did some calculations. At current resistance levels, at least triple our current forces, General. Perhaps more. And how long would it take to break their spirit? To make them accept rule? The aide was silent for a long moment. General, based on their history and behavior, I'm not sure it's possible. They have a concept called freedom. It appears to be more important to them than survival. They would rather die than live without it. Thesak stared out the window at the burning ruins of a human city. Then we may have made a terrible mistake, he said quietly. We may have started a war we cannot win. Far away, in the cold darkness of space, the human fleet grew stronger. Refugees trickled in from Earth, those brave enough to steal ships and escape. Scientists made breakthroughs, factories produced weapons, soldiers trained. President Okonkwo met with Commander Oyelaran, newly returned from Kethvar. They're ready, Oyelaran reported. The Kethvari are ready to rise. They've been waiting for 3,000 years. They just needed someone to show them it was possible. How many fighters? They estimate 200 million, planet-wide. Hidden weapons, secret training. They've been preparing since the day we arrived. Okonkwo closed her eyes. 200 million allies. On one planet. And the Velthrix had hundreds of conquered worlds. This is how we win, she said. Not by matching their fleet. Not by fighting their battles. We win by turning their empire against them. Every world that rises up is a world they have to reconquer. Every species that fights back is resources they can't use against us. She opened her eyes. They burned with fierce determination. Send more teams. Every tribute world, every conquered species. Let them know that Earth stood. Let them know that humans fight. Let them know that the time has come to break their chains. She stood and walked to a window. Outside, human ships moved through the asteroid field, building, preparing, waiting. They wanted us to bow. We showed them fire. Now we're going to spread that fire across the galaxy. On Earth, in a re-education camp, a young girl named Maya Cole watched the stars through a tiny window. She was 12 years old. Her father had been Captain Marcus Cole, who had died on the Velthrix flagship. The aliens told her that her father was a criminal, a terrorist. that he had died fighting a pointless battle, that she should forget him and learn to serve the hegemony. She did not forget. She could not forget. Every night, she whispered to the stars, "I know you're out there. I know you're fighting. I know you haven't given up. And someday, you'll come back. And when you do, I'll be ready." She was too young to fight, but she learned everything she could. She watched the guards. She memorized their patterns. She made friends with other children, children who had lost parents to the war. She was building something, a network, a plan, a future. She was her father's daughter, and humans never gave up. 4 years after Earth fell, the Valthrix hegemony was burning. High Dominant Kethros stood before the Imperial Senate on Valthrix Prime, the throne world at the heart of a 12,000-year empire. The Great Hall had witnessed the submission of 60 species. It had never witnessed anything like this. "The situation is critical," Senator Vorath announced, his scales pale with worry. "In the past year alone, we have lost control of 17 tribute worlds. The Kethvari have risen. The Silathi have rebelled. The Mordran refuse to provide soldiers. Our supply lines are stretched thin." "How?" another senator demanded. "How did this happen? We controlled hundreds of worlds without incident for millennia." All eyes turned to Kethros. He stood alone in the center of the hall, where criminals and failures were traditionally judged. His scales, once gleaming with pride, were dull with shame. "The humans," he said. The word tasted like poison. The humans happened. The hall erupted in angry hisses and shouts. Kethros raised his hand for silence. "When we attacked Earth, we expected a simple conquest, a minor species with primitive technology. They should have bowed in days. Instead, they fought. They hurt us. They destroyed 7,000 ships and killed nearly 1 million soldiers." He paused, letting the numbers sink in. But the true damage was not military. It was the idea that the hegemony could be challenged, the idea that resistance was possible. We broadcast our attack on Earth to intimidate other species. Instead, we showed them that we could bleed. And now the humans are everywhere. Not their ships, not their soldiers, their ideas. They send agents to tribute worlds. They teach enslaved species how to fight, how to organize, how to resist. They have turned our own subjects against us. Senator Salith, who had once mocked human diplomats on their own world, spoke with trembling voice. "What do we do? How do we stop this?" Kethros's yellow eyes burned with fury and determination. "We end it at the source. We gather every ship we have, every soldier, every weapon. We return to Earth and destroy it completely. Not just the cities, the planet itself. We crack it open and scatter the pieces across space. We kill every human in the galaxy. We erase their species from existence. And then we show the recording to every tribute world as a reminder of what happens to those who resist." The Senate was silent. Total destruction of a planet was rare. It was expensive. It was considered wasteful. But these were desperate times. "How many ships do you need?" the Senate leader asked. "All of them. 50,000. The largest fleet in hegemony history. We end this war with one final blow." The vote was unanimous. Commander Zara Oyelaran sat in a cave on the Silathi homeworld, surrounded by creatures of silver light. The Silathi were telepaths. Their bodies were translucent, their minds constantly touching each other. For 4,000 years, the Valthrix had used them as interrogators, forcing them to break the minds of prisoners. Now they were learning a different use for their gifts. "Show me again," Zara said to the Silathi leader, a being who called himself Whisper. Whisper closed his eyes. Zara felt a presence in her mind, gentle and warm. "We can sense them," Whisper said, his voice echoing inside her head. "The Valthrix. Their thoughts are hard and cold like stone. But we can find them. We can feel when they approach. We can even, with many of us working together, confuse them, make them see things that are not there. Can you fight? Directly? Our gifts are not weapons. We cannot kill with our minds. But we can blind. We can deceive. We can turn soldier against soldier in the chaos of battle." Zara smiled. This was exactly what she had hoped. The human fleet was growing stronger, but it still could not match the Valthrix in direct combat. They needed every advantage they could find. "The hegemony used you as tools of oppression," she said. "Now you can be tools of liberation. Help us, and we will help you free every Salathi in the Empire. Whispers' form shimmered. The humans came to us as strangers. You could have seen us as alien, as frightening. Instead, you offered partnership, friendship, hope. His light pulsed brighter. We will help you. We will fight beside you. And when the hegemony falls, we will remember that it was humans who showed us the way. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out. Human agents contacted enslaved species on dozens of worlds. They brought weapons, training, medicine, but most importantly, they brought something the Velthrix had spent 12,000 years trying to destroy. They brought hope. The Mordran were a warrior species, bred for violence, used as shock troops in Velthrix armies. Commander James Liu showed them that they could choose their own battles. The Thessari were builders, forced to construct ships and weapons for their masters. Dr. Sarah Wells showed them that they could build their own future. The Krath were farmers, their world stripped of resources to feed the Empire. Ambassador Maria Santos showed them that they could harvest freedom. One by one, the chains began to break. President Okonkwo stood on the bridge of humanity's flagship, the Defiance. It was not the largest ship in the galaxy. It was not the most powerful. But it was a symbol, a human ship, built by human hands, flying free among the stars. Status report, she said. General Morrison answered. The Prometheus brigades have established operations on 43 tribute worlds. 22 have active resistance movements. 14 are in open rebellion. The Velthrix are bleeding soldiers trying to maintain control. And our fleet? 3,000 combat vessels, including the captured Velthrix ships we've retrofitted, plus 2,000 support craft. Not enough to challenge their main fleet directly, but enough to cause serious damage. Dr. Tanaka spoke next. The Helios project is complete. We have constructed 3 weapons capable of destabilizing a star. They're not meant to be used. They're meant to threaten, to show the Velthrix that we can hurt them in ways they cannot imagine. Okonkwo nodded slowly. 3 weapons that could destroy entire star systems. The power to kill billions. She hated that she had ordered their construction. She prayed she would never have to use them. And our intelligence on their fleet movements? Commander Oyelaran answered. They're gathering. Every ship, every soldier. Heading for a staging point near the galactic core. Our Silathi contacts report that they're planning something big. Earth, Okonkwo said. It was not a question. Almost certainly, they're going to try to destroy it completely. End the war with one massive blow. The president closed her eyes. Earth. Her home. Billions of people still alive on its surface, still fighting, still hoping for rescue. If the Velthrix brought their full force to bear, there would be nothing left. When? 3 months. Maybe 4. They need time to gather their forces. 3 months. 3 months to save Earth. 3 months to end a war that had lasted 4 years. Call back all Prometheus brigades, Okonkwo ordered. Pull our agents from the tribute worlds. We need everyone. We need everything. This is going to be the final battle. If we pull our agents, the rebellions might collapse. The species we've helped might be reconquered. No. Okonkwo shook her head. We've given them more than agents. We've given them the idea of freedom. That can't be reconquered. They'll keep fighting whether we're there or not. She turned to face her council. We always knew this day would come. The moment when everything depended on one battle, one roll of the dice. We've spent 4 years preparing. Now we use everything we've built. And if we lose? Okonkwo's expression hardened. Then we lose. But we make them pay such a price that they'll never recover. We make the cost of this war so high that no species will ever bow to them again. On Earth, the resistance received the message. Maya Cole, now 16 years old, decoded it in her hidden bunker beneath the ruins of Los Angeles. She had escaped from the re-education camp 2 years ago. Since then, she had become one of the most effective resistance leaders on the planet. They're coming, she told her lieutenants. The fleet, our people, they're coming to liberate Earth. A young man named Thomas looked at her with desperate hope. When? Within months. But the Velthrix are coming too, with everything they have. The biggest fleet in history, so it's a race. It's more than that. It's the final battle. Everything leads to this. If we win, we free Earth and break the hegemony forever. If we lose, she did not need to finish the sentence. What do we do? Thomas asked. Maya stood straight. She had her father's eyes, his determination, his refusal to bow. We prepare. We stockpile weapons. We position our forces. When our fleet arrives, they'll need help from the ground. Air defenses to disable, supply depots to destroy, chaos to create. She looked around at the ragged, exhausted, undefeated fighters who had become her family. We've been waiting for this day since the invasion began. 4 years of fighting, 4 years of bleeding, 4 years of watching our world burn while we waited for rescue. Her voice grew stronger. The rescue is coming, but they can't do it alone. They need us. Earth needs us. Humanity needs us. So we're going to give them everything we have. Every bullet, every bomb, every drop of blood. She raised her fist. We are the resistance. We are Earth. And we do not bow. Across the planet, similar meetings took place. In ruined cities and hidden caves, in forest camps and underwater bases. Every resistance cell received the same message. Every fighter knew what was coming. They began to prepare. Weapons were hidden in strategic locations. Communication networks were strengthened. Fighters trained for specific missions. Medical supplies were stockpiled. The aliens noticed the increase in activity. General Thesak reported to his superiors that the humans seemed to be planning something. But he had been reporting that for 4 years. The humans always seemed to be planning something. He increased patrols. He tightened security. He prepared for whatever the resistance might throw at him. He did not prepare for the sky to fall. The human fleet left their hiding place in a coordinated jump that took them across half the galaxy. 3,000 warships and 2,000 support craft, the largest human armada in history. It was still outnumbered. It was still outgunned. But it was determined. President Okonkwo broadcast a message to every ship. For 4 years we have fought this war in the shadows. We have struck from hiding and retreated before the enemy could respond. We have been rebels, guerrillas, survivors. She paused. Today, that changes. Today, we stop hiding. Today, we take the fight to them openly. Today, we prove that humanity is not a footnote in galactic history. We are a force that will shape the future. The fleet jumped again, appearing at the edge of Valthrix space. Before them stood the staging area for the Empire's Grand Fleet. Thousands of ships preparing for their assault on Earth. They had expected to attack a helpless planet. They had not expected the planet to come to them. All ships, Admiral Thompson commanded, weapons free. Target their supply vessels first. Cut off their fuel and ammunition. Make them fight on our terms. The human fleet swept forward like a wave of fire. The battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships darted through the Valthrix formation, smaller and faster than their enemies. Dr. Tanaka's targeting systems dropped alien shields with surgical precision. Weapons that had been designed in desperate months of work tore through hulls that had never known defeat. But the Valthrix fought back. Their numbers were overwhelming. For every alien ship destroyed, 2 more took its place. Human vessels burned and died. Brave men and women gave their lives to buy seconds of advantage. The battle raged for hours. Neither side would retreat. Neither side would surrender. The void filled with wreckage and fire and the screams of the dying. Then President Okonkwo played her final card. Send the message, she ordered. To all tribute worlds. To every enslaved species. It's time. Across the galaxy, encoded signals activated hidden receivers. The message was simple. Now, on the Kethvari homeworld, 200 million warriors emerged from hiding and overwhelmed their guards. On the Silathi homeworld, telepaths joined their minds and turned the Valthrix garrison against itself. On the Mordran homeworld, former soldiers of the hegemony turned their weapons on their masters. On 43 worlds, rebellion erupted simultaneously. The Valthrix received the reports in the middle of battle. Their tribute worlds were rising. Their supply lines were cut. Their empire was burning behind them while they fought humanity in front of them. For the first time in 12,000 years, the hegemony faced destruction. High Dominarch Kithros watched his fleet crumble and knew something had gone terribly wrong. The humans should not have been able to coordinate this. They should not have been able to reach so many worlds. They should not have been able to inspire so many species to rebel. But they had. They had done the impossible. Again. Pull back, he ordered. Pull back to Valthrix Prime. We must protect the homeworld. His officers stared at him in shock. Retreat? We have never retreated. We have never faced this. The entire galaxy is rising against us. We cannot fight everyone at once. The Valthrix fleet disengaged and fled. They left behind thousands of destroyed ships. They left behind decades of supplies. They left behind their pride. The human fleet did not pursue. They were too damaged, too exhausted. But they had won. They had driven the hegemony from the field. President Okonkwo stood on her bridge as damage reports came in. Half the fleet was gone. Thousands dead. The cost was terrible, but they had won. Send a message to Earth, she said. Tell them we're coming home. Tell them the liberation begins now. On Valthrix Prime, the Imperial Senate met in emergency session. The news was catastrophic. The Great Fleet had retreated. The tribute worlds were in open rebellion. The empire that had ruled for 12,000 years was collapsing. What do we do? Senators screamed at each other. How do we stop this? High Dominar Kethro stood in the center of the hall. His scales were burned. His eyes were hollow. He had failed. He had failed completely, but he was not finished. We still have ships, he said. We still have soldiers. The humans have hurt us badly, but they have not destroyed us. We can still fight. Fight? With what? Against what? The entire galaxy wants us dead. Then we make them fear us again. We gather what remains of our fleet. We return to Earth, and we destroy it so completely that no one will ever dare resist again. They'll just follow us. They'll attack Valthrix Prime while our fleet is away. Then we destroy them too. We destroy everything. If the galaxy will not bow, it will burn. It was madness. Everyone knew it. But madness was all they had left. The vote passed. The remnants of the hegemony fleet would make one final assault on Earth. They would bring every weapon, every soldier, every ship they could muster. It would be the largest armada in galactic history, and it would end this war, one way or another. On the bridge of the Defiance, President Okonkwo received the intelligence report. They're coming, she said. 50,000 ships. Everything they have left. Heading for Earth. How long? 3 weeks. She looked at her exhausted, battered fleet. Then she looked at the images of Earth on the screen. Blue and green and beautiful. Her home. Humanity's home. Then we have 3 weeks to get there first. 3 weeks to prepare. 3 weeks to end this. She turned to face her officers. All ships, set course for Earth. Maximum speed. It's time to go home. The human fleet arrived at Earth on a Tuesday morning. The sun was rising over the Atlantic Ocean, painting the clouds in shades of gold and pink. From orbit, the planet looked peaceful, beautiful, untouched by war. But the surface told a different story. Cities lay in ruins. Forests had burned. Oceans held the debris of 4 years of fighting. Earth had suffered. Earth had bled. Earth had not broken. President Okonkwo stood on the bridge of the Defiance and looked down at her wounded world. Tears ran down her cheeks. She did not wipe them away. We're home, she whispered. After all this time, we're home. The communication systems lit up with incoming signals, thousands of them. From every continent, from every resistance cell, from millions of survivors who had spent 4 years waiting for this moment. Maya Cole's voice came through, clear and strong. This is Earth Resistance Command. Welcome back, President Okonkwo. Welcome back, humanity. We've been waiting for you. Okonkwo smiled through her tears. We've been fighting to get back to you. How is the situation on the ground? The aliens still control the major cities, but their grip is weakening. They know what's coming. They're pulling their forces back, fortifying positions. They're scared. They should be. What are your numbers? 4 million active resistance fighters, globally. Millions more ready to support operations. We've been preparing for this day since you left. 4 million fighters, plus the human fleet, plus the allied species who had sent ships to join them, plus the ongoing rebellions across the galaxy that were keeping most of the Valthrix military busy. It might be enough. It had to be enough. The enemy fleet will arrive in 2 days, Okonkwo announced. 50,000 ships. Everything they have left. This is going to be the largest battle in galactic history. We're ready, Maya replied. Just tell us what to do. For now, stay hidden. Conserve your strength. When the battle begins, we'll need you to strike their ground installations. Communication towers, shield generators, anything that gives them an advantage. Understood. We won't let you down. I know you won't. You've been fighting for 4 years without us. You're the reason Earth still exists. You're the reason humanity survived." There was a pause. When Maya spoke again, her voice was thick with emotion. "My father died on their flagship, Captain Marcus Cole. He always believed you would come back. He died believing it." Okonkwo closed her eyes. "I remember him. I watched his final message. He was the bravest man I ever knew. And his daughter has proven herself just as brave. Thank you, President. We'll make him proud. We all will." The next 2 days were a blur of preparation. Ships were repaired. Weapons were loaded. Strategies were planned. The Allied fleet grew as vessels from the HFY, the Salathi, the Mordran, and a dozen other species arrived to join the fight. They had all been slaves once. Now they were warriors, and they had come to help the species that had shown them how to be free. Commander Oyelaran coordinated with the Allied commanders. The Salathi will provide mental disruption during the battle. They can't kill directly, but they can confuse and disorient. The HFY will handle close-quarters combat if any enemy ships are boarded. The Mordran are our heavy assault units. "And the humans?" a HFY general asked. "Humans will do what we always do. We'll adapt. We'll improvise. We'll find a way." Dr. Tanaka worked without sleep, making final adjustments to the weapon systems. Her Helios weapons sat in their bays, capable of destroying stars. She prayed they would not be needed, but she had learned to be practical about war. On the evening before the battle, President Okonkwo addressed everyone. The entire fleet, the entire resistance, every human and every ally. Her face appeared on screens across Earth and on ships throughout the system. "Tomorrow, we fight the battle that will decide everything. The Valthrix are bringing their entire remaining fleet, 50,000 ships. They are coming to destroy Earth, to wipe humanity from existence, to crush the rebellion we have inspired across the galaxy." She paused. "They will fail." Her voice grew stronger. "I have seen what humans can do. I have seen us fight against impossible odds and win. I have seen us sacrifice everything for each other. I have seen us refuse to bow when every sensible option said we should. I have seen what our allies can do. The HFY, who endured 3,000 years of slavery and never forgot what freedom meant. The Salathi, who were forced to break minds for their masters and now use their gifts for liberation. The Mordran, the Thesari, the Krath, and all the others who have joined us. You were told you were weak. You were told resistance was pointless. You were wrong. Tomorrow, we prove it. The hegemony ruled through fear. They taught every species that resistance meant death, but we have shown that submission also means death. The death of hope, the death of dignity, the death of everything that makes life worth living. Tomorrow, we choose how we live. We choose to be free. We choose to fight. And if we die standing on our feet, not kneeling on our knees. We die human. We die proud. She raised her fist. They demanded we bow. We answered with fire. Tomorrow, we finish what we started. The fleet erupted in cheers. Humans shouted. HFY clicked their triumph. Salathi glowed with shared determination. 100 species, united by one cause. Freedom. The Valthrix fleet arrived at dawn. 50,000 ships emerged from jump space in perfect formation. It was the largest armada ever assembled. The combined might of an empire that had ruled for 12,000 years. High Dominar Kethro stood on the bridge of his new flagship, the final judgment. He looked at the human fleet arranged between him and Earth. 4,000 human ships, 3,000 allied vessels, 7,000 total against 50,000. He should have felt confident. He did not. "All ships, prepare for battle," he ordered. "Today we end the human threat forever. Today we restore the glory of the hegemony. Today we prove that no species can challenge our might." His words felt hollow. He had said similar things before the first battle of Earth. He had been wrong then. He feared he might be wrong again, but there was no turning back. The empire was crumbling. The tribute worlds were in rebellion. If they did not win here, today, the hegemony was finished. Attack. The void exploded into chaos. Both fleets charged at each other. Energy weapons filled space with deadly light. Ships dodged and weaved and died. The first minutes were pure destruction. Vessels on both sides exploding like fireworks. The Valthrix had numbers. The humans had innovation. Dr. Tanaka's weapons dropped alien shields with terrifying efficiency. The Silathi created confusion in enemy minds, causing ships to fire on each other. The HFY boarding parties cut through Valthrix's crews with savage efficiency. But 50,000 ships were 50,000 ships. For every alien vessel destroyed, more took its place. The human fleet was pushed back, and back again. Admiral Thompson, commanding the fleet from the Defiance, made hard choices. He sacrificed ships to protect others. He ordered retreats that cost lives to buy time. He watched friends die and gave more orders. "We're losing," he reported to President Okonkwo. "We're hurting them badly, but we're losing. At this rate, they'll break through to Earth within hours." Okonkwo looked at the tactical display. The battle was enormous, stretching across millions of kilometers. Both sides were bleeding, but the Valthrix were bleeding less. "What about our reserves?" "Committed. Everything is in the fight." She turned to Dr. Tanaka. "The Helios weapons?" The scientist's face was pale. "They're ready. But President, if we use them, we're talking about destroying an entire star system. Billions could die." "I know. We would be no better than them." "I know that too. But if we lose here, Earth dies. Humanity dies. Every species that trusted us dies. The hegemony wins, and nothing changes. Nothing ever changes." She stared at the tactical display, at the endless swarm of enemy ships, at the tiny human fleet fighting desperately against the tide. "Not yet," she decided. "We hold that option in reserve. There has to be another way." On the ground, Maya Cole led her resistance fighters into action. They struck Valthrix installations across the planet. Shield generators exploded. Communication towers fell. Supply depots burned. Every strike helped the fleet above. Every destroyed installation was one less weapon pointing at human ships. But it wasn't enough. "We need more time," Admiral Thompson reported. "If we can hold them for another 6 hours, the HFY reinforcements will arrive. That might turn the tide." "Can we hold for 6 hours?" "I don't know. Maybe, if we're lucky." Luck. That was what it came down to. After all the planning, all the preparation, all the sacrifice. Luck. President Okonkwo refused to accept that. "There has to be something we're missing," she said. "Something we haven't tried. Think. Everyone think." The bridge was silent. Exhausted officers stared at screens showing the battle. Thousands dying every minute. The slow retreat continuing. Then Dr. Tanaka spoke. "Captain Cole's virus." Everyone turned to look at her. When Captain Cole boarded the first Valthrix flagship, he planted a virus in their systems. It went dormant after we activated it. But it's still there, spread through their entire fleet via their communication networks. "It was detected years ago," Admiral Thompson said. "They purged their systems. They tried to purge it, but the virus was designed to hide, to adapt, to survive, just like humans." Tanaka was typing frantically on her console. "I've been monitoring it. Small traces in their background systems. Nothing active, but the code is still there. Can you activate it again?" "I can try. The virus has evolved since then. I'm not sure what it will do, but if I can wake it up, do it." Tanaka worked for 10 minutes while the battle raged. Her fingers flew over the keyboard. Sweat dripped down her face. The fate of humanity depended on code that had been written 4 years ago by a dead man's team. "Got it," she whispered. "I found the activation sequence. It's embedded deep in their navigation systems now. If I trigger it, what will happen?" "I don't know exactly. The virus has learned. It's different now. But at minimum, it should disrupt their coordination. At maximum," she looked up, "at maximum, every ship in their fleet loses navigation and targeting for approximately 30 seconds. 30 seconds. In a battle, 30 seconds was an eternity. 30 seconds of Valthrix ships unable to aim, unable to maneuver, while human weapons fired freely. "Do it," Okonkwo ordered. "Now." Tanaka pressed the key. For a moment, nothing happened. The battle continued. Ships died, hope faded. Then the Valthrix fleet went blind. Across 50,000 ships, screens flickered and died. Navigation systems showed impossible data. Targeting computers locked onto empty space. The perfect formation dissolved into chaos as ships lost track of each other and their enemies. Admiral Thompson saw it happen and reacted instantly. "All ships, fire, everything we have. Now." The human fleet unleashed hell. Every weapon fired at once. Beams and missiles and railgun rounds tore through the confused enemy fleet. Valthrix's ships exploded by the hundreds, then by the thousands. 30 seconds of chaos, 30 seconds of slaughter. When the Valthrix systems came back online, they had lost 8,000 ships, and the human fleet was charging straight at them. High Dominarch Kethros stared at the destruction in disbelief. Half his fleet's defensive formation was gone. The humans were pouring through the gap, heading straight for him. How? He screamed. How do they keep doing this? No one had an answer. All ships reform. Protect the flagship. But it was too late. The human fleet was already among them, too close for organized defense. Ship-to-ship combat erupted across the formation. The disciplined Valthrix tactics fell apart as individual captains fought for survival. And still the humans came. Admiral Thompson led the charge personally. The Defiance cut through enemy formations like a blade. Its weapons never stopped firing. Its shields held against impossible punishment. Behind him, the Allied fleet followed. Kethvari ships rammed damaged enemies, their crews pouring out to fight hand-to-hand. Silathi vessels created illusions that sent Valthrix ships fleeing from phantom threats. Mordron warships led devastating assault runs. The battle had turned. High Dominarch Kethros saw death approaching. His fleet was crumbling. His empire was dying. Everything he had built, everything his ancestors had built for 12,000 years, was ending. No, he growled. I will not be the one who lost it all. I will not be remembered as a failure. He turned to his officers. Set course for Earth. Maximum speed. We will ram the planet itself if we must. If I cannot have victory, I will have revenge. The final judgment accelerated toward Earth, its weapons clearing a path through the battle. It was the largest ship in the Valthrix fleet, heavily armored, designed to survive anything. Admiral Thompson saw it coming. The flagship is making a run for Earth. It's going to try to crash into the planet. President Okonkwo felt ice in her veins. A ship that size, hitting Earth at full speed, would cause catastrophic damage. Millions would die. Maybe billions. Stop it. Whatever it takes. We're too far away. Our ships can't catch it in time. She looked around desperately. There had to be something. There had to be someone. There was. Maya Cole's voice came over the communication system. I see the flagship. It's coming in over North America. There's an old defense platform in the mountains, one of Admiral Chen's hidden weapons. It's damaged, but still functional. If someone can reach it and fire manually, the shot would have to be perfect. The shields on that ship are the strongest in their fleet. I know. But if we hit them with everything at once, at exactly the right moment, maybe we can drop the shields long enough for the platform to get a killing blow. President Okonkwo understood what Maya was saying. Someone would have to go to that platform. Someone would have to stay and fire while the flagship approached. They would not survive. Maya, you can't. I'm already on my way. My father died fighting these bastards. I'm going to finish what he started. The line went dead. Maya Cole ran through the ruins of Denver, heading for the mountains. Behind her, the sky burned with the light of battle. Above her, the massive shape of the final judgment grew larger with each passing second. She reached the platform as the flagship entered firing range. The ancient controls hummed to life under her fingers. Dr. Tanaka had taught her how to use these systems years ago, in case this moment ever came. This is Maya Cole, she broadcast to the fleet. I have targeting lock on the enemy flagship, requesting all available fire to concentrate on their forward shields. On my mark, Maya, please. President Okonkwo's voice was choked with emotion. Tell the galaxy what we did here today. Tell them Earth didn't bow. Tell them humans never give up. She watched her targeting screen. The flagship was close now. So close she could see it with her naked eyes. A mountain of metal falling toward her world. 3, 2, 1. Mark. Every human ship that could fire did so. The combined energy of 1,000 weapons struck the final judgment's forward shield simultaneously. For 1 second, the shields flickered. Maya fired. The platform's weapon was old, but it was powerful. A beam of light shot up from the mountains and struck the flagship directly in its main engine core. The final judgment shuddered. Then it began to break apart. High Dominarch Kethros felt his ship dying around him. Explosions ripped through deck after deck. The hull cracked open. The void rushed in. In his final moment, he thought about the humans. about these impossible creatures who had refused to bow, who had fought when they should have surrendered, who had turned the galaxy against an empire that had stood for 12,000 years. "What are you?" he whispered. Then the final judgment exploded. The blast was visible from space. A new sun bloomed in Earth's sky, then faded. When it cleared, the flagship was gone. Scattered debris rained down across the mountains. Maya Cole did not see it. The platform had been too close to the explosion. Nothing remained but scorched rock. President Okonkwo wept, but there was no time for grief. Not yet. The battle still raged. Without their leader, without their flagship, the Valthrix fleet lost all coordination. Ships began to retreat. Some surrendered. Some fled into jump space. The human fleet pursued, but not to destroy. They let the runners go. Let them carry the message back to Valthrix Prime, the message that the hegemony was finished. Within hours, the battle was over. The greatest fleet in galactic history had been broken. 30,000 Valthrix ships destroyed or captured. The rest scattered across the stars. Earth was free. President Okonkwo landed on her home planet for the first time in 4 years. She stepped out of her shuttle, onto scorched ground, surrounded by ruins and rubble. It was the most beautiful place she had ever seen. Survivors emerged from hiding. Resistance fighters. Ordinary people. Children who had been born during the occupation and never known a free Earth. They gathered around their president, around their liberators, and they wept with joy. "We did it," General Morrison said, his voice cracking with emotion. "We actually did it. Not just us," Okonkwo replied. "Everyone. The fleet. The resistance. Our allies. Everyone who believed that freedom was worth fighting for." She paused. "And the ones who didn't live to see this day. Admiral Chen, Captain Cole, Maya, all of them." She looked up at the sky. The battle debris was still falling, bright streaks across the blue. "They're watching. I know they are. And I hope they're proud." In the months that followed, the hegemony collapsed completely. Without their military, without their leader, they could not hold their empire together. Tribute worlds declared independence. The Valthrix homeworld was blockaded by a coalition of former slaves. The war was over. Freedom had won. 1 year later, President Okonkwo stood before a monument on the site of the old United Nations. Representatives from 100 species had gathered. Humans, Kethvari, Silathi, Mordren, and dozens of others. Former enemies. New friends. 1 year ago today, she said, the Valthrix demanded that Earth bow. They believed that power came from fear, that strength meant the ability to destroy, that the measure of a civilization was how many others it could crush. She looked at the names carved into the monument. Billions of names, the cost of freedom. They were wrong. Power does not come from fear. Strength does not mean destruction. The measure of a civilization is not how many it can crush, but how many it can lift up. She turned to face the crowd. Humanity did not win this war alone. We won because we found allies, because we inspired others, because we showed the galaxy that submission is not the only option. Freedom is not a human concept. It belongs to everyone. She raised her hand, and the representatives of 100 species raised their hands with her. Today, we found a new galactic council. Not an empire, not a hegemony, a partnership of equals, a promise that no species will ever be forced to bow again. The crowd cheered. 100 languages, 100 voices, one message: freedom, forever. In a quiet corner of the ceremony, an old Kethvari woman held the hand of a human child. The child's parents had died in the war. The Kethvari had lost her entire family to Valthrix cruelty centuries ago. Now they had each other. "Tell me the story again," the child asked. "About the humans who didn't bow." The old Kethvari clicked softly. They came from a small world, a young species. The Empire thought they would be easy to conquer. They were wrong. Why didn't they bow? Everyone else bowed. Because humans are different. They have a fire inside them that cannot be put out. When you try to crush them, they burn brighter. When you try to break them, they grow stronger. When you demand they bow, they stand taller. The child looked up at the monument, at the names of the fallen, at the symbol of hope they had become. "I want to be like them when I grow up." The old Kethvari smiled with all 4 of her mandibles. "You already are, little one. We all are. Now, they gave us that gift. The gift of courage, the gift of hope, the gift of knowing that empires can fall and freedom can rise. She looked up at the sky, where human ships and Kethvari ships and Silathi ships flew side by side. They demanded Earth bow. Earth answered in flames, and the galaxy was never the same. The ceremony ended. The representatives returned to their worlds. The work of building a new future began, but the story lived on, passed from parent to child, from species to species, from generation to generation. The story of the small world that refused to kneel. The story of the young species that taught the galaxy to be free. The story of humans who never, ever bowed.